Picking the worst presidents is like picking the worst team in sports. It's all about opinions. Some names always show up on the not-so-good list. But why? Did they mess up big time? Did they have bad luck? Or did history just treat them unfairly? Let's meet 12 presidents who didn't exactly hit home runs while they were in charge. We'll see if we can figure out why they're not exactly remembered for high fives and winning streaks. Zachary Taylor, born in 1784, was a hero in a war and became the 12th president in 1848. However, people don't see his time as president in a very positive light. One reason is that he didn't have strong ideas about how to run the country, and he wasn't experienced in politics. This made it seem like he couldn't make clear decisions, especially when the nation was dealing with big problems, like the argument over slavery. Even though he did well in wars, being a good leader in the government turned out to be a tough job for him. His unclear stance on slavery also made the tensions between the northern and southern states worse. Sadly, he passed away in 1850, just 16 months into being president. Because of this, he didn't really accomplish much in terms of important policies or leave a lasting impact. While he's not seen as one of the very worst presidents, people criticize his time in office for not solving the important issues of the day and for not having a clear direction. Herbert Hoover, born in 1874, was a person who had success as an engineer and later became the 31st president in 1929. However, his time as president isn't looked at very positively. One big reason is that he didn't have strong plans to help the country during the Great Depression. Many people were suffering, but Hoover didn't do much to fix the economy. People also didn't like how he handled a situation called the Bonus Army Incident in 1932, where veterans asking for promised bonuses were treated badly. This made Hoover seem uncaring during a difficult time. His approach of not getting too involved in solving economic problems and the Bonus Army incident made people lose trust in his leadership. Even though he did good things before being president, his time in office is often criticized for not helping the country when it needed it the most. John Tyler, born in 1790, faced significant criticism during his time as the 10th president from 1841 to 1845. One major issue was his conflict with the political party he belonged to, the Whigs. He got kicked out because he didn't agree with their plans, leading to a lot of turmoil. Additionally, Tyler supported the annexation of Texas, which created more problems between the northern and southern states, especially concerning the expansion of slavery. People in the North and South were upset with him for different reasons. His presidency is often remembered for the lack of clear achievements and a failure to unite the country during a time of increasing tensions. While not widely considered the worst president, Tyler's struggles with party politics and divisive decisions have contributed to a less favorable historical assessment of his time in office. Millard Fillmore, born in 1800, took on the role of the 13th president in 1850 after Zachary Taylor's death. His time in office is often criticized for the way he handled the Compromise of 1850, a set of laws meant to ease tensions over slavery. While Fillmore signed these laws, they didn't really solve the problems and actually upset both the northern and southern states. People thought he didn't show strong leadership during this difficult time, and his support for the Compromise didn't satisfy anyone. The nation continued heading towards the Civil War, and Fillmore's presidency is often seen as ineffective in preventing the growing divide. His lack of clear leadership and the failure to find a real solution to the issue of slavery contribute to the criticism of his presidency. Although he faced challenging circumstances, Fillmore's perceived shortcomings have led to a less favorable historical assessment of his time as president. Warren Gamaliel Harding, born in 1865, served as the 29th president from 1921 to 1923. His presidency is often criticized for the Teapot Dome scandal, one of the most infamous political scandals in U.S. history. The scandal involved corrupt leasing of government-owned oil reserves, which damaged public trust and revealed corruption within his administration. Despite some positive aspects, such as the Washington Naval Conference aimed at promoting international peace, the scandal overshadowed Harding's achievements. Additionally, Harding's sudden death in 1923 fueled speculation about the extent of his involvement in the corruption. His association with the Teapot Dome scandal and the subsequent loss of public trust have contributed to a less favorable historical evaluation of his presidency. William Henry Harrison, born in 1773, holds a unique place in history as the 9th President of the United States, serving for only 32 days in 1841. His presidency is often overlooked due to its brevity, preventing a comprehensive assessment of his impact. Harrison faced criticism for delivering an exceptionally long inaugural address in cold weather, which many believe contributed to his subsequent illness and untimely death from pneumonia. As a result, Harrison's presidency is mostly remembered for its abrupt ending, leaving him with no significant policy accomplishments or lasting legacy. While he may not be widely considered one of the worst presidents, the lack of tangible achievements during his short tenure contributes to the limited historical attention given to his time in office. Franklin Pierce, born in 1804, served as the 14th President of the United States from 1853 to 1857. His presidency is often criticized for his support of the Kansas-Nebraska Act, a controversial law that allowed territories to decide whether to allow slavery. The act led to violent clashes in Bleeding Kansas and intensified the sectional divide between the North and the South. Pierce's perceived lack of strong leadership during this turbulent period contributed to the unraveling of the Union, setting the stage for the Civil War. While Pierce had some achievements in foreign policy, such as the Gadsden Purchase, his inability to navigate the growing tensions over slavery and his handling of domestic issues have led to a less favorable historical assessment of his presidency. Donald Trump, born in 1946, was the 45th President of the United States from 2017 to 2021. Some people liked him for things like tax changes and boosting the economy before the pandemic. But many others didn't like his ways. His approach to immigration, especially separating families, made a lot of people upset. When there were protests about racial issues, he didn't always handle them well, and that caused more problems. The way he talked about the COVID-19 pandemic and used social media also made things more complicated. In 2021, there was a big problem at the Capitol, and he got impeached a second time. It should be noted that Donald Trump is one of the most controversial presidents in U.S. history. He is loved by many and equally hated by many. People have very different opinions about Trump's time as president, making it a time of strong feelings and division. George Walker Bush, born in 1946, served as the 43rd President of the United States from 2001 to 2009. His presidency is widely criticized for the decision to invade Iraq in 2003, based on faulty intelligence about weapons of mass destruction. The war resulted in a prolonged conflict, loss of American and Iraqi lives, and strained relationships with key allies. The government's response to Hurricane Katrina in 2005 exposed significant shortcomings in disaster management, and Bush faced widespread condemnation for the slow and inadequate assistance provided to those affected. Additionally, his administration's handling of the economy, particularly the 2008 financial crisis, drew scrutiny. While some appreciate his tax cuts and conservative policies, others condemn the Iraq War, the response to Hurricane Katrina, and economic challenges during his presidency. The controversies surrounding George W. Bush's tenure have contributed to a divisive historical assessment, with differing opinions on his legacy. Richard Nixon, born in 1913, served as the 37th President of the United States from 1969 to 1974. His presidency is primarily defined by the Watergate scandal, one of the most infamous political scandals in American history. Nixon's involvement in the cover-up of illegal activities, including the break-in at the Democratic National Committee headquarters, eroded public trust and led to widespread disillusionment. Facing impeachment, Nixon became the first president to resign from office in 1974, marking a historic low point in American politics. The Watergate scandal overshadowed other aspects of his presidency, such as efforts to improve relations with China and the Soviet Union. Nixon's legacy is marred by the perception of dishonesty, abuse of power, and a betrayal of the public's trust, making him one of the most controversial and, for many, one of the least favorable presidents in U.S. history. Andrew Johnson, born in 1808, served as the 17th President of the United States from 1865 to 1869. His presidency is widely criticized for his handling of the post-Civil War Reconstruction era. Johnson faced conflicts with Congress over his lenient approach toward Southern states that had seceded, which many believed was too forgiving. His opposition to civil rights for freed slaves angered many in the North, and his veto of civil rights legislation further deepened divisions. Johnson's impeachment in 1868, though ultimately unsuccessful, reflected the intense dissatisfaction with his leadership. While some appreciate his efforts to restore the Union after the Civil War, others condemn his failure to protect the rights of newly freed African Americans. Johnson's presidency is often seen as a missed opportunity to establish a more equitable and just Reconstruction process, contributing to his historical reputation as one of the less successful and divisive presidents. The most hated president in U.S. history is James Buchanan. James Buchanan was born in 1791, served as the 15th President of the United States from 1857 to 1861, and he is often criticized for his ineffective leadership during a critical period leading up to the Civil War. Buchanan's presidency is marked by his failure to address the escalating tensions between the North and the South over the issue of slavery. Instead of taking decisive action to prevent secession and maintain the unity of the nation, Buchanan adopted a policy of appeasement toward Southern states, avoiding any confrontations that could have averted the looming conflict. Buchanan's support for the pro-slavery Lecompton Constitution in Kansas and his refusal to intervene decisively in the face of secession threats contributed to the perception of him as a weak and indecisive leader. His lack of effective communication and failure to provide strong leadership during this turbulent time further fueled the divisions that eventually led to the outbreak of the Civil War in 1861. Critics argue that Buchanan's presidency represents a missed opportunity to address the deep-rooted issues of slavery and sectionalism, and his unwillingness to take bold steps to preserve the Union is often cited as a significant factor in the lead-up to the nation's deadliest conflict. As a result, James Buchanan is frequently ranked among the least successful and most criticized presidents in U.S. history. And there you have it. What do you think about these presidents? Share your thoughts in the comments and don't forget to subscribe for more insightful content.